And there's been a lot of people that had a conventional wood stove, and then they switched to a rocket mass heater. And then the reports are generally anywhere from 1/5 the wood to 1/10 the wood.
We're at a very special place today on the Great American Farm Tour. Wheaton Labs in Montana. Paul Wheaton himself, standing next to a legit hugelkultur bed. A lot of people build these too small. I don't think you lack a smallness here. And he's a giant. Now,
Extra large!
I know you're a bear. Now, are you a teddy bear or a grizzly bear?
Definitely a grizzly bear.
Okay.
Don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I am not a sweet person. You want sweet, you talk to Justin.
That's right, that's right. He's not hiding anything here, okay, folks? All right, Grizzly, show us around, buddy.
We need a boy for size. We need a boy for perspective. Stand right there. Give an idea. See, look how big it is now.
Nice.
It got so much bigger. So we have a road over there, and every time I stood out here, it was sucking my soul away. So what I did was I deleted the road.
Good job.
Yeah. And so it reduces the sound about 90%, definitely reduces the visual 100%, and we grow things on it.
Good job.
Now, so far this has been about 2.5 years, and we have not irrigated it at all. Although we put some water on it this year because we were worried about some forest fires in the area.
Okay.
So we actually had like little embers showing up about that big, and we're like, hey, let's put water on things that are less likely to catch on fire. So, but the rhubarbs have been very, very happy. Some happy potatoes and other things. And then because they're so steep, and it's got hugelkultur bits inside, so it's got wood on the inside. And as the wood rots, it'll become parking spaces for water and nutrients to grow all kinds of stuff. But right now, what we've learned so far is that there hasn't been enough moisture in the mound for that wood to really rot well. So I think next year we might actually water it. But eventually, once it gets old enough and rotten enough, then we can have the most luxuriant garden we want, and we don't have to irrigate it at all. Yay! Let's go look at a rocket mass heater in the library.
Many of you may know him for a rocket mass heater. I'm really interested in seeing this.
This is our steampunk rocket mass heater of science. For those that are not familiar with a rocket mass heater, the idea is to burn your fire not in a metal box, which throws off the heat right away, but to burn it in a very insulated box so the fire gets crazy hot. That burns all the creosote and the smoke. So normally what you do is you put your sticks in here. The fire burns at the bottom of the sticks and burns sideways, and there's a super insulated chimney inside of this. It hits the top of the barrel, goes down the sides, and then does a double loop-de-loop before going up and out the roof.
It really works.
Really works. And this particular room that we're in is not sealed. The air moves through here really easy. You can see outdoors in a lot of different places. I think that we heat this space with probably 1.5 cords each winter.
What? So this is it. This is the size of wood you put in there. Yep. That's nothing.
Which is normal length for a standard conventional wood stove.
Okay.
And you could use bigger chunks, but I like to use smaller chunks. Like that.
So put it in here. Put it in here like you're going to start a fire.
Okay.
And that's it. These little tiny woods. So how much?
The hole in there is about this big, so I'd put like, I don't know, 6 sticks like this in like that.
Wow.
And the bottom burns. Mm-hmm. The fire burns sideways. It goes up the heat riser that's like this in there. And then hits the top, goes down the sides, double loop-de-loop out the roof. So now what comes out the roof is just steam and CO2.
Wow.
And then when we go outside, and it'll hold heat for a good day. This one holds it for a good day. The other one will hold it for a couple of days.
Wood?
6 little sticks of wood.
That's
a
day.
day.
A whole day.
Oh, not for a whole.
Okay.
Now, when we get into
when the fire's done, the stove will remain its heat.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the one in the house is better than this one.
Okay.
And it'll hold the heat for days. And we've done that many times. And we'll run a fire for, out here we'll run a fire for maybe an hour and a half, but every day. And then in the house, we'll run the fire for an hour and a half, maybe hour and a half for every other day.
And it's just Montana. It's not South Carolina.
No.
Yeah.
So how cold does it get, Paul?
I think last winter, did it get to 10 below, guys?
I said it got down to 20 below.
20 below this last winter? All right, guys. Hey. We're trying to be
y'all.
quick.
Quick, act like you're working.
I'm eating. I'm always playing.
Hey. We call this house the Fisher Price house because it's just a plastic double wide house. You can find it in any children's aisle at the department store. We tried to build this one with a slightly different aesthetic. So it's got a granite top. It's got gravel on the inside, pea gravel. But here you can see the wood feed. And that's where we put the wood in. And you can see it's not very big. It's pretty small. And then we use this to kind of clean out the ash and dump the ash in here before each burn. And then when the fire is done, we just kind of move the bricks back over the hole to slow any air movement. But this one has a stainless steel barrel. A lot of people build rocket mass heaters and they don't use a barrel at all. They'll have something else that's manufactured. They feel like having a barrel in their home is not a pretty thing.
Well, you prettified this. How'd you prettify that?
Time.
Oh, really?
It
It looks like brass.
It was a plain stainless steel barrel, and over time it picked up its own funky coloring.
Okay, and it looks really nice.
It does, doesn't it? It did that all on its own. That's nature, man. Nature. Totally nature. But this one has a bunch of magical properties to it. This might be the rocketiest rocket mass heater ever built. It was, when we finished building it, it was so rockety that when we put the wood in, it sucked the flames off of the wood and put the fire out. So we reduced the size of the wood feed. So this wood feed's smaller than what it started off as. It's about 35% smaller than what would normally be used. But because that's smaller than we have a normal fire, we also added another loop-de-loop inside to kind of slow things down a little bit. Another interesting thing about this one is that we had a lot of people that were kind of like, all the numbers with rocket mass heaters were too rough for them. They were feeling like you can't believe it because no one has held a ruler up to it. So in this space, this is a 3-bedroom home, and we don't have stuff on the windows like curtains, heavy curtains, like winter curtains, nor do we have like a mudroom off the front door. So you open the door, it's wide open to the outside. These are ways that you normally save energy. So we don't have that kind of energy saving stuff here. Whenever the temperature got to be about 66, that was cold enough that we built a fire. And it's like, okay, that's too cold. So 66. And then usually we got the temperature over 70, and then what would happen is rather than like, we are logically going to stop burning the fire, what happened was we got lazy and forgot about the fire. And so we kept it between 66 and 71 all winter, and we used 0.6 cords of wood. And for a house like this in Montana, in this climate, a normal wood stove would probably use 6 cords of wood. And there's been a lot of people that had a conventional wood stove, and then they switched to a rocket mass heater, and then the reports are generally anywhere from 1/5 the wood to 1/10 the wood with the switch.
Whew.
So, and usually when they say 1/5 the wood, it's because they switched from a super efficient wood stove to a rocket mass heater. These are incredibly safe. When you heat with 1/10 the wood, you have 1/10 the fire, 1/10 the opportunity, and then all the flamey bits are inside a very insulated space, much more difficult for any kind of disaster. Plus, the main disaster that you insure against is going to be creosote fires. And these don't have creosote. They burn all the creosote because they get it so hot. So it's like, these are so much safer. And then they pump out heat when there's no fire, and that's super safe. So not to mention the fact that they're far more luxuriant, because with a conventional wood stove, the fire goes out at night, and then people are either getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to build a new fire, or else they're getting up and maybe their pipes are frozen or something like that. So with this, we'll run a fire in here, we'll go to bed and it'll be like 72, we'll wake up and it'll be 69. So it holds the heat for quite a long time. All right, let's go back out this way and that way. Somebody asked me if they should like not put their laundry out while you were here, and I said, no man, that's our eco flag.
That's
We're
right.
proud to dry our clothes outdoors. Hang that eco flag, wave it proudly.
Underwear and all.
Sure, is there underwear up there?
No, they took their underwear away.
I think that if you don't have one of these, are you really living off grid? Are you really eco? Do you really care about the earth if you don't have a clothesline? Propane is off-grid's dirty little secret. If you've got propane, you're not really off-grid. That's our other property.
Are you on the grid?
This property is definitely on the grid. Look, there's the grid. See it? There it goes. It's the grid.
Watch out.
It's coming right for you.
Hey, Mr. Brown, is he a teddy bear or a grizzly bear? Grizzly bear. Is he gonna eat you?
No.
No?
We call this Willow Wonka. And so it's something that we have, we call it a willow feeder. It's not a composting toilet, but it could be modified pretty easily to be a composting toilet. But rather, a lot of people say that there is such a thing as waste. And in permaculture, we try to say, you know, waste from one system is the feed for another system kind of a thing. So rather than saying it's, you know, for waste, what we do is we say that it's a willow feeder, because willow trees love that stuff. That's their candy. They're like, no, give me all of that. Now, a lot of trees, if you take the material that's deposited in here and you try to give it to some other plant or tree, most plants and trees are going to be like, ugh, that's too much. But a willow tree will take it, so will a poplar or a cottonwood. So we call these willow feeders. What we're looking at right here is the trom wall. So there is a pipe which you can almost see. No, that's not the pipe. The pipe's in the middle and you can't see it anywhere in here. But there's a pipe in there. And so this is a cob mass. And this is mostly black behind glass, so it gets very, very hot. Then the cob mass holds the heat for a long time, and then that keeps the air moving through that pipe. And as long as that air is moving through that pipe, then it's sucking air out of the chamber inside of there. And then that would mean that when you go in there and you go like this, as opposed to sometimes you stop off at something that the state has provided or someplace else has provided and you go, oh, which is different. Notice the different way, you know. So we wanted not the second one, but the first one. I can see here it says open, and there's just magnets holding that closed, so you just give it a tug and it opens right up.
Nice. Very nice. It's like you're on a throne up there.
I think some people call it a throne.
You just need a window here so you can bark your orders.
And then people bark back. It's like the barking back people, I decided to take the window out.
Very nice. Let's do it. Let's take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Smells nice. It's working. There's the pipe. Pulling it out, drawing it out with just natural heat draw from the black artwork. Very nice. You like to sit on this throne and go to the bathroom?
This is pretty new, so we've got some more testing to do and some modifications to make to it.
Okay.
This is our third one, and up there is the second one. Now the second one used to be down here, and much like you just suggested, like, oh, you need some windows. So it did allow people to kind of look around. Like when you sit down in there, there'd be like, you could see. And the problem is that if somebody was walking by, you would make eye contact.
That's awkward.
And that would get the whole system to stop. So we learned it was not helping with what the function was. We weren't feeding the willow trees anymore when somebody would walk by. That we learned. This is all about experimentation. We learned a valuable lesson. So we modified it. We moved it up there, hid it behind trees, put it at a dead end, and added more wood around the sides. So now you got triple layer protection to make sure that you don't. The other thing is that you'll notice that this is the floor above the skids, and you'll notice it's also on skids. We can move this around whenever we want. But on the other ones, this is the first time where we added a floor up high. On the other ones, we added a little box or something that you can put your feet on while you're at work. Working, yeah, doing what you need to be doing. And we kind of feel like having an actual floor is more luxuriant. So nice. Now, the other thing is that the one up there, which we call Willow Bank,
Where's your smell?
that one has 2 seats. We realized that design was a poor design because what would happen is whenever people would come in there and they'd be hard at work, they would see the other seat. And then that would kind of help clench things up too, because you think any moment now, somebody's going to come up here. I know I'd latched the door and everything, but is somebody going to be out there angry saying, hey, I know there's a second seat in there, you got to let me in. And you know, so there's that whole, and the reason why we did it, to have 2 seats, is not because we wanted 2 people in there at the same time. One side had a urine diverter and the other side didn't. And so then mostly women appreciate a urine diverter, because when they're working, then everything's going. And then with guys, they can choose. I've decided to do this job, but not this job. And but then if there's a urine diverter there, then it's like, I don't want my stuff to touch that. So we made one side without and one side with. And now what we've done is we've just made a much better urine diverter. And there's just one hole, because people were getting they were getting nervous about that second hole up here.
I've seen a lot of the old time outhouses with 2 holes, but it wasn't urine diverter reasoning, was it?
It's stop being such a weenie. Get in there.
That's right.
And stop your
The old
whining.
timers
Yeah.
didn't have the same concerns.
Yeah, it was a different era. It was a different, everything was different then. Get in there, do what you gotta do, and get out. Don't be looking around, don't be starting conversations. Just do what you gotta do. And so I think that today, I know I wouldn't want to be in that kind of situation. I like the idea that I've got privacy and you know, I can think. I can, you know, take my time, get it done right, do a good job. So both of these are on skids. In fact, both of these structures used to be down there, and we decided to move them up here. And so we just drug them up here. No problem. This is Willow Bank. 2-seater. Already described the 2 seats. Now this is one where we kind of thought, all right, we needed it in short term, so we made this one in 2 days, and we had an event, and so we needed something that's like, I didn't want to have a porta potty, so we got this here, and sure enough, people liked this 10 times, 20 times better than a porta potty, but people would still prefer to go into the house if they could. So then we talked about how can we modify this so people would rather come in here than go in the house. And so I think we went through 7 iterations of modifications to get to where we have this. So we've got, in the morning, the sun comes up on this side, and there's little marbles there, and they put like little designs all over the place. Usually there's lots of artwork all over the chalkboard. And if you step on that pedal, it'll make the water come out right here.
Really, step on that pedal.
Step on that little pedal right there. There it is. So there's a sink out there. That's probably enough.
That's good, Lily. That's good, Lily.
There's not a lot of water in there.
Just sorry, don't it?
Don't need to empty it, because we packed the water in for it. But you know, when we talked about how to make it more luxuriant, we talked about how some women occasionally will need to come in here, and somewhere we've got a little, there it is right there. There's 12 different ways to deal with Shark Week. And so then it's like, okay, how do you deal with Shark Week when you're here? This is a new environment. Then the other thing is like, okay, let's say you've now dealt with Shark Week, and then you're kind of left like this. Then do you want to like go outside and use the sink out there? Or look, a sink right here. Then when you exit, you're not doing this. So now if you listen carefully, can you hear it? The little fan. There's a solar panel on that side, and the design of this one is that we've got a battery and a tiny little fan instead of using the trawl maul down there. And what we've learned is that this battery will last maybe 5 years, and then it's shot, and then it has to be replaced. And maybe the fan will need to be replaced, and maybe the solar panel will need to be replaced, maybe the wiring will need to be repaired. It's not a passive system, it's going to require maintenance. So we decided that we wanted to, you know, experiment more with the trawl maul and get a trawl maul design that works extremely well. So that trawl maul is far more elaborate than, because our first Willow Feeder has a trawl maul in it, and it works like 90% of the time. So what we decided to do is make a much better trawl maul and try that. It's so hot off the press. Willow Wonka's just recently done. We need people to test it more. All right, and you notice how we got the little steps in here to put your feet on. You know, because when you, it turns out that if you don't have this here, that will interfere with the work that you need to do. It turns out your legs need to be lifted just a little bit up off the ground, a little bit. That's it. So of all the things that I'm showing you here, it's like maybe 5% of it, maybe 4% of it was actually made by me. This is all community stuff. Really, everybody else doing nearly all the work. I'm just a fat guy who sits in an office most of the time while we're here. But what you've seen so far is only half.
Wow.
This is just base camp, where it's one giant rock. You go over to the lab and we've got 40-foot deep subsoil, and we can grow so much more. And we've got the 2 Wafatis up there. Each one has a beautiful rocket mass heater in it, which is featured in Ernie and Erica's book, The Rocket Mass Heater Builder's Guide. Then we've got the teepee that has a rocket mass heater in it. And then both of those are featured in our 8 DVD set. And there's one DVD that you could buy just by itself, the Cobb style DVD, and that's got the teepee and the Wafati builds in it. But those are up at the lab. Ant Village is up at the lab. There's all the projects that those guys have done. There's just much more to see. If anybody is interested in coming here and checking out what we're doing, or hanging out for a tour, or maybe a few days or a week or something, go to permies.com/labs. For DVDs and stuff, I think that if you go to richsoil.com, that's where I keep most of that stuff. I think richsoil.com/woodheat is where we've got the stuff about the 8 DVD set. World Domination Gardening, the permaculture playing cards. I think if you go to permies.com/PDC, you can get 177 hours of video. That's our permaculture design course and our appropriate technology course. Sure, we've got a bunch of other things. We've got the whole digital market. A lot of our famous authors are offering their books at the permies.com digital market.
Thank you for this tour. It's absolutely great. I love your consistent build here. Just reusing wood and making it beautiful. Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, Justin.